Okay, this is where we're going to start. This is where I normally start, but tonight I was messing around getting my lighting in my new location. It's been a lot of fun getting it set up. Okay, as you saw, we got a good one tonight. So, welcome to the Easy Path Project. I'm Michael, I'll be your host, and tonight we'll be talking about this philosophy will help you live fully in the present moment while building towards your ideal romantic future. Some of the things that we will be covering are abundance mindset eliminates desperation. A scarcity mindset creates needy behavior that repels quality partners. Also, inner alignment attracts compatible matches because authentic energy resonates with people who share your values. And finally, you'll discover what happens when you stop chasing and start attracting naturally. This is one of the first. This is the first of our Explore series since I did one on subjective reality a couple weeks back. This is like where I like to live in this headspace. I kind of like to look at the world as a simulator or as like I'm interacting with the universe or with reality. I try to bring some of those ideas to you guys, but I try to bring them practically. So tonight is actually the more practical version of what we're going to get at. But like I said, this is more of the, exploring your headspace, more about being um, adventurous and open to something really cool happening just because you decided it's going to happen. And so what we're going to call this is exploring magnetic attraction, how to get a girlfriend naturally. So to begin, the first thing you want to do is cultivate an abundance mindset. Pardon me. So cultivate an abundance mindset. Approach dating from a perspective of possibility and quality rather than from scarcity. This means believing there are ample opportunities for desirable connections, which helps you avoid desperation and make better choices. Yeah, I've experienced this in my past too. Like where I get my mind wrapped around the idea somehow that that there are not uh, women out there for me, or there's not a relationship, or whatever. I mean, I've even other aspects, and it's never true. I mean, there's 4 billion people, and how many girls around you? I mean, if you think about like the history of Earth prior to modern transportation, people met their life partner from within their like local vicinity. So, and their cities were rarely much larger than just an average size city now. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of possibility. And all you have to do is just be open to that possibility that, hey, instead of me being afraid of finding a chick that I want or that I like or that is suitable for me and that I'm suitable for her, instead of thinking that's going to be rare, it's just going to be like, I'm going to become the kind of guy that attracts those women. And then suddenly you'll find them flocking to you like a moth to a flame. I know this sounds ridiculous if you've never experienced this, but just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean that you can't experience it. All you have to do is be open to the possibility. Okay, the next one is to embrace your character journey. See dating and relationships as significant opportunities to sculpt and develop your character. Ask yourself, how would my best self handle this when facing challenges in relationships? Also, try out different characters. So that's one of the things that I talk about We'll get to that first, and then we'll get back to the important stuff. But I always talk about getting your reps in by going to the next town over, going over to Shelbyville or to the holodeck or whatever, and just putting in your reps. Try to talk to people. Have communicate interactions. Get good at it. When you get good at it, when the time comes, when your girl comes along, you won't be all tongue tied. You won't have to be sitting there thinking, "Oh well, what lines do I need to say to pick her up?" Heck, you'll just be ready. She'll be like on your wavelength, and then you'll just get together. It won't be a challenge or a chore. It'll happen anyway. But like I said, the thing that you have to do when it comes to this subjective reality or determining your character is like, do you want to be that guy? Like visualize the guy that would be the kind of man that would attract the kind of woman that you want. And then try out that character, try out that persona, get a feel for it, do some visualization, get comfy. Like I said, if that's the kind of guy that's going to attract that kind of girl, why not just become that kind of guy and then, skip the hard stuff? Anyway, but yeah, also, like, sometimes people think, that life is happening to them or whatever. They're just dealing with it. Once again, I've been here before. So like, it feels like sometimes you're just reacting to everything. You never are really acting. But this is a perfect opportunity for you to like assert yourself. Like, once you're working on your authentic personal self, your true self, that's when you practice being that guy. And like I said, if that guy is the best possible version of yourself, then that best possible version of yourself will handle situations that come up. You won't even have to worry about them or think about them. You'll just be prepared and things will work out better in general just because you've done the work beforehand. Also, you want to focus on inner alignment over external fixes. This is another thing, and you've heard me talk about this 1,000 times now, but that's why I don't really teach you like pickup lines and all that kind of stuff, because once you get rid of all the stuff that's holding you back, um, once you get rid of that stuff, then you won't need lines, and you'll just be a cool cat, and you'll be able to get girls. It's not. I mean, I don't know how to make it sound any easier or whatever. I mean, it takes work on your part. You have to deal with the shit that's holding you back, stuff that's been probably hanging out with you since you were a kid. It's not useful anymore, and you need to ditch it, and you need to move on to this next phase of your life. Anyway, but the thing is that focus on yourself, but do not put your dating life on hold, waiting to achieve like a perfect body or enough money or anything else. You know, um, you want to live your life now. You want to be like a participant in this process, and it begins like when you begin. So the simulator or the reality or the universe or whatever you might when approaching a woman or expressing interest, be straightforward and authentic about what you are seeking. Avoid disingenuous or manipulative approaches, as these often lead to inauthentic connections or partial matches. An honest no is preferable to a clever deception. Um, like I say, women have a very strong BS detector, right? And they know if you're trying to kind of weasel your way in, or you're trying to get something, or they know with this. And sometimes if they think you're cute, they'll play along. They'll play kind of stupid, play dumb, and because they might want you too, and they'll put up with your stupid, uh, to get with you. I mean, it is a possibility, right? Anyway, but so, don't, I mean, that also keeps you out of the friend zone. You know, if you let a girl know that you're interested in her, that you either want to sleep with her, or you want to date her, or you want to marry her, or whatever, like if you let her know that she's not going to friend zone you, like she might like spit you out. She might like say, no, thanks. Okay, well, that's one possibility. But what if she's like into you, or what if she's open to you? Well, at that point, you just once again cut to the chase. And like I said, don't try to be sneaky or whatever, and don't settle for partial matches. I think I've got another slide that follows this one. But like I said, with a scarcity mindset, sometimes, most of the time, a lot of times, people settle. And, when you settle, that's just setting you up for bad times in the future. Like, do yourself a favor now and cut it off. Like, or, wait and or work your way. I mean, like I said, I've got some other slides that touch on this stuff. Don't want to get ahead of myself. Anyway, also express genuine appreciation. Approach interactions with gratitude and appreciation for the experience and the person, rather than from a place of neediness or entitlement. This positive vibe is more attractive and encourages mutual respect. This one's kind of a nuanced sort of thing. It's like, it's almost like you want to have, um, gratitude is the word that I used here. But like you want to be thankful for the opportunity to get to know this person. Like I said, sometimes relationships can go to crap, right? And so it's sometimes difficult to think that way. But if you, I would just say, be thankful for the opportunity. Look for the positives that come out of it. Look for the things you need to learn. Also, look at the feedback, you know, the message that you got from the universe, or from the reality, or from the simulation, or whatever, like that it didn't work out. And then you sit there and evaluate why it didn't work out, and then fix that for the next time you go and get into another opportunity. And also, I talk about vibes all the time. Um, Positive vibes are where it's at. You know, People like a guy who's fun to be around. And if you're a pleasant guy and you're fun to be around, like you'll just be blown away by how uh, your life changes. Okay, also, you want to take initiative and prioritize action. Don't passively wait for women or opportunities to come to you. And after I've sit here and tell you that's exactly what I do. But anyway, engage directly and take action. Excessive planning or research can be a form of procrastination. Learning by doing and taking steps, even imperfect ones, is more effective. So once again, this is a lot to unpack. First thing is, like I said, I like to do my personal game. Like if I have a game, like if I have a style, is I like to be approached. I like to be chased. I like women uh, to express her interest to me in multiple ways, and that works best for me. And I do the same to her, but in a different way. But like I said, so for me, like my game is to have women come to me. Um, but what I'm saying about engage directly and take action is like don't be afraid. Like for instance, I mentioned that I came across a woman the other day, and we sort of hit it off the second time we met up. Um, I thought that things were going well, and so I could not necessarily wait for her to come to me, because it was a situation where we just met in a hallway at an office. But at that point, I was just able to say, hey, let's talk, or let's get together, or whatever. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, don't be afraid. Don't. I mean, like I said, establish yourself as an awesome guy that attracts women. So do that. But also, if you have the opportunity to engage with a woman, or in person directly, instantly, right that instant, go for it. Anyway, second thing is that yeah, if you start excessive planning or research, or thinking about stuff, or all this kind of stuff, first of all, it is a form of procrastination. Like, you're just trying to keep put it off because you think that it's going to be more painful uh, to go through with it than to not go through with it. Anyway, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I understand it, right? It makes total sense. But you know, who was it? The butthole surfers. It's better to. Uh, oh, never mind. Never. That's kind of funny. It's old, like the butthole surfers were a semi-punk band from the '80s. Anyway, but yeah, if you're sitting like on your deathbed, at the end of time or whatever, you'd much rather look back and see that you took a shot. You took your shot, and no matter what happened, uh, rather than you didn't do it, and then you have to sit there and deal with the regret. Like I said, if I have to list my number one thing, it's regret. For one very specific instance when I did not. I had a perfect opportunity, like it was set up like on T-ball, where they have the ball on top of the, and I just could have knocked it out of the park, but for whatever reason, I pulled back, and I regret it to this day. And so don't do that. Like, don't put things off. Don't make it uh, bigger or whatever, because that's also another thing, that if you're procrastinating, it ends up making you build it up in your mind. And so you start attaching value, to this interaction with a woman or whatever. And if you start attaching value and stuff, that makes it a lot more difficult to deal with um, the aftermath rationally. Like I said, you want to work on your coping skills and your resiliency. Well, one way to avoid uh, having a problem with coping with something, or dealing with it, or bouncing back, is that you built it up. If you don't build it up, it's not going to be a problem. It's just a learning experience. And that's part of what this deal about subjective reality is. It takes all the emotion, all the crap out of everything. It's all it is just the universe giving you feedback and you moving into it. You're establishing yourself, and it arranges itself around you. It's really quite an interesting way to look at things. Like I said, it's much more fun than um, the normal way of looking at things. Okay, also, you want to gain clarity on your desires. Clearly define the qualities, connection types, and experiences you truly want in a partner and a relationship. Vague or undefined desires tend to attract partial matches. Do not settle for partial matches. Like I said, I mean, if you're serious, and like I said, I keep getting ahead of myself tonight. I've got one more slide later that talks about, go out with different women and learning what it is that you really like. It's like, but the thing is that while you're going through that process of dating women, while you're going through the process of getting to know yourself and what you want, that will help you make your list of the qualities and the types of women and the experiences you want to enjoy with her. And once you have that understanding, then that's when you can start to make a decision, if you want to actually be with somebody. So you can be with a partial match for fun or whatever, but like, don't commit to that relationship because it is partial. If that woman is only 50 or 70% of what you want, imagine also that maybe you're only 50 or 70% of what she wants. And so, both of you are settling going into this, and that does not set you up um, for good times in the future. That, yeah, stay away from that. In fact, here's that slide right now. So refine your palate through experience. View dating as an ongoing process of exploration and experimentation to discover what genuinely resonates with you in relationships. Continuously refining your taste through experience helps you recognize and attract better matches over time. So, like I said, the end goal here is to try to find the perfect woman for you. And hopefully, you're going to be the perfect guy for that woman. And so the two of you getting together, um, it's a process. She's dating guys, she's going through all the relationship stuff she's dealing with. You're doing the same thing. And so, hopefully you'll work your way through the system or whatever and find each other. And once you do understand who you want to, who you want to or whatever, that'll make it a lot easier for you to recognize that she's not a partial match, but that she might be something much more suitable for a long-term relationship. Okay, so are you getting any value from this video? If so, please leave a like and leave a comment. I got my first comment on one of these live streams today, and it was, what? Like, I know I'm blowing people's mind, right? The stuff that I talk about is just absolutely insane compared to the 1,000 or the 10,000 dating coach guys on YouTube. Um, yeah. Like I said, they're trying to teach you stuff, and they might be teaching you just exceptionally incredible information. But, if you're not ready, it's just like I was talking about with the woman, like they can tell you the exact number one line to pick up a woman and the exact number one way to text a woman to get, and all those things that you want to know. And if you're not ready, like if you have not internally worked on the stuff that you need and you haven't gotten rid of all the crap that you don't need, and to make that happen, then you would take that line and you would do nothing with it. You couldn't. It's just like somebody who goes out and sees a race car, or some guy driving a Ferrari or whatever, and then he jumps in a Ferrari and then he wrecks it, and it's like, well, no shit. you know Whatever. Anyway, so uh, yeah, leave a comment, please. Also, subscribe, because I do these live streams about 9:30 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday. But I'm also going to be adding in just random sporadic ones with my cell phone, because I've got some 5-minute stuff that I want to talk about. Anyway, so subscribe and turn on your notifications so YouTube will let you know whenever I'm live, if you want to join in. And if not, uh, if you're not able to, then I also have a playlist. I'll talk about that later. Okay, so the next step that you would want to take in this kind of moving through the subjective reality is set and maintain clear boundaries. Establish personal standards for your mental, emotional, and physical space, and be willing to enforce them respectfully. Also, respect other people's boundaries and personal space. So, basically, this is what we call subjective reality. Like, this is a place where you can be yourself. You can have things the way you want. You know, if you do particularly have things that are your standards for your mental, emotional, physical space, whatever, stand up for yourself. Say, this is what I believe in. This is me. I am expressing what me is, and do it respectfully, right? Don't be a jerk about it. Don't push people around or whatever. Don't, yeah, just say, like, that's how things are. People that deal with me know that there's just certain things you do not do. And it doesn't have to be spoken about. It's just it's established and it's understood. You know, in this subjective reality universe, you can be your own boss, right? You're You're the character, you're the avatar, you're the main player. So go nuts. Make this your world. Okay. I think I messed that up. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so build social skills progressively. Enhance your social confidence and abilities by starting to practice in a comfortable, compatible social settings. Gradually expand your comfort zone by taking small, increasing steps. This builds genuine skill rather than trying to fake it till you make it. Like I say about everything, almost everything I tell you, I can put an asterisk on it, and I can argue the opposite side of it, and I can tell you why and give you some really good reasons. But let's unpack this one. So, for instance, I say, I call it Shelbyville, or I call it the holodeck, or whatever. The idea is just going to the next town over, someplace where nobody knows you. There's no connection to whatever, and just walk around town, interact with people, buy sodas or water or candy or food or whatever, and just, interact with people while you're around and about. Just practice, you know, be comfortable. Like I said, there's no, once you leave this setting and go back to your home, like all it is a memory. And it's like, it's not real necessarily. I mean, it's a real memory, but it doesn't exist any longer. So who cares if you stumble or you, make a mistake, or, even if a girl just looks at you silly or whatever, it's like, she's not real anyway, right? They're all NPCs. All these people in in the holodeck or in Shelbyville are just NPCs. Doesn't matter to you. Just do your thing, right? Anyway, and as you get more comfortable doing that, um, start doing stuff in your real world. See how that works. Um, baby steps is what I always recommend. Um, don't go whole hog, don't go crazy. Just little baby steps comfortably. The easiest, simplest things you can think of, just settle for those and just build on it. And so that is how you build genuine skill. But I do say fake it till you make it. Like I said, there is something about your brain, and I don't understand it myself fully. But you can look it up, you can research it yourself. But through visualization, you can actually, your brain doesn't quite know the difference between what you're visualizing and what really happens. And so you can actually build up confidence and skills and all these kind of things just by visualizing it. Like I said, you know, one night when you're not busy or whatever, just kick back and close your eyes and, visualize yourself meeting the perfect girl for you, and imagine being the cool guy, the Don Juan or whatever that, that gets her, make sure everything is just awesome, and just keep running through that scenario for a little while and just get real comfortable, internalize it. Like I said, whether it's real or not, like your body, your physiology, your mind, are all going to respond as if it had actually happened. And so that will build confidence in the most, I mean, without even having to leave your living room or den or whatever. Okay. Also, you want to understand and respond to emotions, yours and hers. See, another asterisk. I say that. Anyway, but recognize that emotions are valuable feedback from reality about alignment. Learn to make decisions that produce positive feelings, as logic alone cannot set priorities in relationships or life. So this is another two-parter. Okay, so, well, actually, yeah. So, like I said, one of the things you're going to want to do just in general is to kind of learn to pull back from reacting to your emotions. So, like if you feel them, that's one thing, right? But if you feel an emotion, or you feel like that response is about to kick, but yet you just add like a little teeny tiny delay, and like so you recognize what it is coming at you or whatever. Like I said, you can meditate and just sit there and watch all your thoughts kind of go by, like just clear your mind and just watch stuff and, try to detach from anything that sticks in your mind and just see how things go through mind, and emotions are the same way. Um, yeah, since this is the Explorer night, we can talk about weird stuff, but if I'm not mistaken, at some point I might have even heard somebody talking about how like emotions and some other things are actually external to us, that our brains are not necessarily like the containers that hold things, but they're more or less like a transmitter. And so they receive and transmit things. And that's getting way off into the deep end. But the idea is that so there's the possibility that that emotions really aren't from you or whatever. They're just signals or whatever. And just like Henry Rollins says, you don't have to take the dog shit. Like if somebody tries to hand it to you, you don't have to take it. It's the same thing. If these emotions come across, you know, your radar or whatever, like you don't have to bite, you know, kind of hold back, but understand, that it happens. So like if you're starting to feel shy or nervous or angry or um, scared or whatever, like understand these things, understand where they're coming from, understand why they're happening, and then fix them, right? You can solve things like that if you understand, okay, well, when I interact with this woman, I feel nervous. Okay, well, what's causing you to be nervous? And then just work through those things. Like I said, this, emotions are in the subjective world, the subjective reality. They're just feedback. They're nothing more. There's no meaning to them. It's just like, even if a woman shoots you down, even if she's rude about it, it doesn't matter. It's just feedback. Anyway, this last part that I was talking about is that, you do want to produce positive feelings. You want to make people feel good about having you around. You don't want to be all logical and think like through stuff. You definitely want to keep it, you know, front of mind or whatever, that you want to make things, pleasant for other people, and understand to recognize both, like I said, both her and your emotions. Okay. Also, you want to practice trust and courage. Be willing to take risks in pursuing connections and facing fears like rejection or vulnerability. Building courage in one area of life often translates to increased courage in others, including dating. So, yeah, like I said, one of the things that we talk about, like abundance mentality or scarcity mentality, is that, a person who kind of has their mind stuck in scarcity is is going to be more likely to try to hold their stuff, like try to save things or try to save themselves or whatever. Like they don't want to put themselves out, they don't want to take risks or whatever. But that's actually, a big part of forming a relationship, is that you do have to take risks of rejection, and you do have to be somewhat vulnerable. You have to open yourself up to some severe pain if it goes south, and or even worse. But understand when you're going into this that that's a possibility, and also understand that you're a strong man. You are, for whatever reason. You might not have been demonstrating it, but it's within you. And once you start believing in yourself, then it's going to be a lot easier to deal with that kind of crap. But also, like I talked about with in my very first two or three live streams, I talked about um, Jay Abraham and his ideas about how different parts of a business, actually, there's like 9 pillars or something, I think he uses in his explanations. And each one of those, if you take just a small little improvement in each of those things, then like the entirety will grow in your business, simply because you've done these little tiny little incremental steps, in each of these 9 pillars. That's the same thing for you. A lot of relationship stuff and whether it be dating or whatever. It's like it's fractal. Like, I certainly don't want to get into that discussion tonight, but the idea is that so things that work on one aspect of your life, once you start improving in one area, then just as a result of that improvement, then other things improve. And so that's why I talk about, like, just getting started in this is the hard part. But once you take that first step, um, you just start to see the results so quickly that it's amazing, and you kind of surprise yourself. Um, yeah. Anyway, also integrate playfulness and fun. Actively bring play, humor, and enjoyment into your relationships and daily interactions. Playfulness strengthens bonds, releases stress, and increases adaptability. Remember to pre-schedule your fun and relaxation into your life. I mean, that's actually been one of my personal best characteristics, is that you know I can make it fun to be around me, and I'm lighthearted. I usually don't get down about anything, or I just keep everything sort of fairly light. Um, and people like that. Like I said, they've got all their problems they've got to deal with on a daily basis, and they don't want like another serious person that has to deal with all their crap. They want somebody who lightens their brightens their day and lightens their load and all that kind of stuff. Once you're smiling and making a joke out of it and having fun dealing with all this stuff, because we got to deal with it anyway. Might as well have fun, right? Anyway, once you start to do that, like, things just become more fun around you, and that is an attractant in itself. Anyway, and once you start becoming playful, and like I said, it strengthens bonds, it releases stress, and increases adaptability. Like, you'll actually find new and better ways to deal with stuff simply because you're not like holding on to that negative crap. Ugh. I mean, just thinking about it makes me feel kind of nauseous. Anyway, but yeah, once you let go of that stuff and just start dealing with everything just slightly more relaxed and slightly more optimistic, like, things will get a lot better for you. You'll have a lot more fun. Okay, also develop a richer internal world. Continuously learn, explore new subjects, and brainstorm creative ideas. This enriches your inner life, expands your problem solving abilities, and makes you a more interesting and engaging person to connect with. Yes, that's one of my 9 pillars, is it's called lifelong learning. Like, that's one of the things we talk about here a lot, is that, it's one thing for you to like learn basic communication skills and like how to approach a girl, and, maybe even how to get her number or whatever. Well, then it's a totally different thing to learn about the dating aspect. And then once you start dating and maybe then you get married, then that suddenly changes. And then, if you recall my White Knight Wednesday several weeks back, when we talked about the Female Brain by Dr. Luann Brizendine, a woman's brain changes about 6 times in her life, or our brain changes and her hormones fluctuate. And so you're going to have to deal with that stuff too. So there's like all these different changes. And so, like, if you're constantly learning about these things and finding new ways to make your interaction with your partner interesting, like you explore new subjects, or think of new ways to solve problems. And once you start doing that, I mean, once again, your life gets better on a whole bunch of different levels, because you're approaching your problems differently, and hopefully better. Okay, frame challenges as lessons and opportunities. View relationship setbacks, disagreements, or even breakups as valuable feedback and opportunities for growth and self-refinement. Extract lessons from every experience to further sculpt your character and understanding. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, look at all this stuff as feedback. Don't attach value to stuff. Um, because it doesn't really help you at all. For instance, like let's say that you did have a breakup or whatever, and so you're hanging on to like the grouchy aspects of it or whatever. Like, how is that benefiting you? It's like it's one thing if you're going through it step by step and saying, okay, well, this thing went wrong, and therefore, this led to this other issue. And this thing went wrong, and this led to this issue, and then this other thing went bad, and then that was the cluster of problems that led to this and led to the. Okay, well, now you know all these different aspects of what happened wrong. Now you just evaluate them, and you figure out a plan how to not have them happen in the future, and you get on down the road. There's no need to bring like emotion into this. Like if you do have a breakup, it sucks. But and like I said, there's this is personal, my personal explanation because for whatever reason, like I just am fairly, except for one or two situations, I've had a really pretty easy time dealing with this stuff. And it's because I don't attach extra value to it. Anyway, but use all of this stuff to grow. Use it as input, as in data, to teach you, for you to understand how to avoid having those problems in the future. Okay, and connect personal desires to a larger purpose. Link your specific dating and relationship goals to a broader, more expansive vision for your life and contributions. This provides deeper motivation and can provide, and can invite greater support and alignment from reality. So this is the idea that, you know, while like a woman is going to be your partner and she's going to be a huge part of your life, but you've got to have like this broader idea, this broader view of what it is that you want to accomplish, both individually and as a team, right? And so think about how your personal stuff is working towards that now. And we talked about that a long time ago, but like, what is your why? Why are you interested in any of this? And once you start to identify why it is, then that's going to make it easier for you to move through the difficult times, why you're going to stick to it, why you're going to keep plugging away, is because it means something to you. It's not just something you're doing because or for whatever reason or not. You're doing it because it means something to you. Okay, and that is it. What do you think? Like I said, this is a explore uh, topic, so we got off into the weeds a little bit, but I like to play in the weeds. So thanks for indulging me. Anyway, but if you have any ideas or any thoughts about this, definitely leave a comment and let me know. Also, if you know anyone who would like to hear this information or like to watch these live streams, please share the link to the video and invite them to join in. It was funny to see some lurkers tonight, but uh, once again, no comments and no chatting. Oh well, you guys will warm up to me eventually, I'm sure. Anyway, but until then, oh yeah, tomorrow night's going to be White Night Wednesday, another favorite. Yeah, you guys seem to like those, so I'll keep bringing them anyway. But tomorrow night, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap it up, and then we'll. So basically, these principles will develop your character into the kind of man that high quality women naturally gravitate towards. Like I said, this is stuff that you practice. Get rid of all the stuff that maybe is holding you back, that's keeping you your limiting beliefs, your scarcity mindset, all that stuff. Just get rid of it because it's no longer valid. It's no longer useful. Once you do that, you can start working on these other things that we just talked about. And that's really when you'll see some just insane improvements in your life. And like I said, do not be surprised if you start doing some of these things and then you suddenly start finding your kind of woman on on the periphery, like trying to find her way into your line of sight. Because that's another thing to think about women. Like they've got a much different, or not much different. They've got a wider peripheral vision. Excuse me, so they can see stuff, and so they sit there and think that they're on like your line of sight and stuff. And yeah, that's another night's topic. Anyway, like I said, when you're the kind of guy that she wants, like she's gonna make sure you know it, and that's when it really gets to be a blast. Okay, so we do have live streams Monday through Friday around 9:30 p.m. Central. And I also have made a playlist so you can watch the replays if you missed them live, which most people do. But I am starting to see more people showing up on my playlist. So thank you anyway. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And until then, take it easy.